We've done 4,000 in the last 2 days. We have 5 evals already booked for next week, so that's possibly another 8 to 10,000.
Inside of this video, I'm going to be interviewing a cash physical therapy practice owner on how he went from being stuck at 12 visits a month to doing over 12K a month in just a span of 2.5 months. We're going to be talking about all the systems he implemented. We're going to be talking about the sales strategies that he adjusted, and we're going to be talking about the different marketing strategies that he implemented to be able to start growing rapidly and take full control over his practice's growth.
Yeah, back in April, started my own cash practice. Mostly focusing on active individuals, weightlifters, CrossFitters. I'm really big into sports medicine stuff. That's kind of where I land. Started back in April. Let's see, went till about August. I think I started with guys. Yeah, August. Before August, was really just hustling. I just moved down here, so I had absolutely zero connections in the area, and finished my travel contract in April. And the next day I just created a list of 40 places to drive around to and just started trying to figure it out. By the time August rolled around, I had gained pretty much zero momentum. I had $2,000 or $3,000 in sales a month, if that. And all of those were 1 month grinds just to get, 1 or 2 patients maybe. Joined in August. We got ads running, learned a ton on how to do sales, learned a ton on how to build systems, which I didn't even know were a thing before August. So that's kind of where we're at in August. And right now, took December off with ads and kind of pushing the business just to regroup, and turned them on last week again and got rolling again. And we done 4,000 in the last 2 days. We have 5 evals already booked for next week, so that's possibly another 8 to 10,000. So and then we got some more workshops and some other systems I built out in December ready to roll. So just continue to apply all the stuff that we learned in the program in different ways. So
I love that, dude. And congrats. If I had the bell here, I'd ring it for you. But I'm up at the clinical marketer cabin right now. I forgot to bring my bell, but that's incredible, man. Congratulations on everything that you've done. So you went from about 12 visits a month to, on some months you're doing around 8 to 12K a month now?
Yep. That's kind of what I've averaged since joining the program. Yep.
That's incredible.
December is kind of nullified because I didn't even really try in December, and just from systems I had in place and some organic stuff that we've been working on in the program, I still got 2 patients. So and I was just sitting around, not necessarily sit around, but I wasn't actively reaching for patients. It was more of just whoever kind of comes through. So
was it 2 patients or 2 packages?
2 packages. Yep.
Oh man, that's awesome. 10 packs or 6 packs?
Both were 10.
Yep, nice. 10. Yep. That's how you wrap up into December. That's incredible, man. And so what I wanted to bring you in here for is how you started off your story, because the majority of the people who are inside of this group, and a lot of the people who are really fearful around working with coaches or have been burned before, they're in the exact same spot that you were, where they understand they need to network, they understand they need to do workshops, and they're just working and fighting tooth and nail to try to get clients in the door, but they never really seem to be able to get past that kind of like ceiling of just a couple people a week. So my question is, just from the hustle style things, have you started to adapt that strategy? Is that still a primary part of how you're marketing your practice right now?
I'm definitely still in the hustle stage for sure. But as you were saying that, I was kind of thinking like, there's kind of 2 types of hustle. Before, I was hustling to just get a patient, right? Yeah. And now with what I've learned and the things that we're doing, I'm hustling, but I'm hustling in a way for, I would say, more growth, right? Yep. So as I'm hustling, I see the growth, and it requires less hustle, right?
Yeah.
Whereas like before, yes, I probably could have just kept hustling, but there was never going to be a time where it was like, hey, yeah, you can take the foot off the gas. It was like, no, if you don't, if you don't keep hustling where you're going to have to do this forever, right? You're never going to build it out in a way to where your hustling is exponentially paying off down the road, right? So at this point, I do hustle, but I hustle in different things. Instead of trying to scrap for one patient, it's like, okay, I'm going to hustle on building out systems and dialing in my sales and building out better workshops and better organic marketing, and combining those into an actual system to where that initial hustle turns into something that doesn't require as much. So, yeah.
So do you feel like your organic marketing is working better now that it's like, it's more about growth, and seems like it's almost like now that it's not out of like desperation and necessity, that's kind of the big difference now between what you're doing now and then, right?
Yeah, for sure. I think, like, let's say workshops, for example, like that type of a hustle, I was doing that. I was going out to gyms, is doing workshops. I'm still working on getting better at building that into the clinic, but the way I was doing them for before wasn't going to build out for necessarily growth. I didn't have systems behind them to where when I did the workshop, that there was follow-up, that there was ways to have more points of contact besides that 1 hour Saturday, right? Being able to build out the workshop so that the workshop is not only informative and beneficial, but it's also a sales process without them even knowing it, right? My workshops before they weren't a sales process. They were good workshops, right? But they weren't built to start moving people along the path of like, hey, you've got a problem, let's deal with this, and then hitting them with enough points of contact to finally get them to pull a trigger on it. So
right.
yep.
And I think you hit on quite a few things that I think are important to dig down on, where it's about systems. You're obviously making some subtle changes to the way you're doing your organic marketing. And this isn't even where I intended to take this conversation, because I know everyone's on here because they're excited about the ads, because in everyone's mind, ads are like magic. But what you keep bringing up is like the systems are really what are the most important. So before we get into the ads, let's dig into this organic stuff. What are the biggest changes that you've made with your organic approach, both with maybe this outreach, maybe it's the workshops or how you're selling them? But if you could list out like a few of the top things that have changed between how you're doing the organic stuff now versus previously, what would those things be? And if you're watching this video right now and you're if you wouldn't mind, take notes in the comments for those who just kind of want to speed watch this and want to go through the comments. So just someone take notes for us if you could.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing organically is the top one would be, of course, back ending the systems before you get into doing your organic stuff. Because when you have your systems in place, it makes it so like if you're going to do a workshop, you can, if you build out the systems behind it beforehand, you can just worry about going and doing the workshop.
Yep.
And especially at the end of the workshop, if you have your systems in place, you're going to grab more people from the workshop, because most of the time what happens is when someone comes, like you end your workshop, someone comes up to you and wants to start talking to you, and then you're only having a point of contact with one person. Where now if I do a workshop, everybody, they scan a QR code to sign the release form. And that way, if they don't get a chance to come up to me at the end of the workshop, I can tell them like, hey, I leave it up on the screen, like, hey, scan that, schedule your call, right? Because just because they join the workshop doesn't mean they're necessarily a good fit either. I have to get them on a call, right?
Right.
And I think that's the biggest thing organically, is just like having filters in place so that by the time that they get to the clinic and I do an eval, like I've got them in the bag, right? Like most of the time there's no way they can say no. They've already said yes so many times that like the phone call I did this morning, just repeating back to the lady kind of everything she told me, she was like, holy cow, you're an amazing listener. And
Yeah.
I didn't even go through the rest of the call because she was just like, let's do it. Like, let's sign up. She said, let's go. Right. I didn't even have to do the rest of it because like there's just little things in there. And you can kind of do your call or whatever at the workshop talking to someone, right? I did that the other day with the person in the gym, right? Organically, I was just like, hey, did like a in-person mini call with them, and they're like, yep, got on the schedule, ready to roll, right? So all the sales that you would use in a Facebook ad, it's still sales. You're just using the sales organically, whether it's a workshop, whether it's talking to a random person at a gym, talking to a friend, or just, oh, you do PT and someone starts talking to you about a problem they have, like, boom, go into your sales, right? And if you're good at it, they won't even know it's sales, right? They just think that you really care about them, which you do, but like,
Yeah.
yeah,
It's
yeah,
it's
it's
crazy how
great.
many people think like, well, it's not that crazy. Like people just feel like sales is just like sleazy. You're trying to convince people. But I just was on a call with someone who joined our program yesterday who feels like marketing and sales are so just sleazy and pushy. And they think of like the snake oil stuff. And it's like, if you do it right, you just do what you already love doing. And you're just actually caring about what people are doing, where they're trying, and genuinely looking for any reason to not sell to them. Because if they're not a good fit, you recommend they go somewhere else. And if they are a great fit, then you ask so many questions that the person almost convinces themselves to work with you just because no one's ever taken the time to ask those kinds of questions before.
Yeah.
I love that you're applying that stuff to your workshops too. So you keep repeating back-end systems like prior to the workshop. So you mentioned QR codes.
Yep.
You mentioned kind of embedding our sales framework into kind of the workshop itself, into the conversations you're having with people. What kind of other systems are you talking about that you would, that you recommend others have built out prior to a workshop?
Yeah, I have, well, there's automated emails. If you do run ads for the workshop,
Yep.
you have your automated emails that go out before the workshop, so you can just plug and play, right? Whether it's my squat, whether workshop, whether it's my shoulder workshop, whether it's my back pain workshop, whether it's my optimizing Olympic lifting, like all you do is go in and you just change a couple words in the email sequence, copy and paste it, and then boom, you have a whole email sequence for whatever specific workshop it is, right? So it really is tedious building out one system, but once you build out one system, the way you do it, as long as it's in the same category of like organic marketing, you
Right.
just copy and paste, change your words, boom, you have it for another one. It's more specific, it sells better, right? So yep.
Heck yeah. And then the last thing until we'll move on, just because we're only going to go until 5:30, unless we just get excited and carried away and we just keep rolling. We got a lot of good
Hey,
questions.
I got time, man. I might go work on my golf game after this, but we'll see.
Hey, there we go. Then we'll try to keep it short and concise. We don't intrude on that. But you also mentioned how important follow-up on these workshops were that you weren't really doing before. So just for people who have no idea or concept of what follow-up on a workshop might look like, what would you do?
Yeah, so every person that comes to the workshop and they sign up for something like that, and this is in general, this is coming through my website, this is clicking on an ad, this is they scan the QR code in the gym,
Mm-hmm.
whatever it may be. They scan the QR code on my business card, whatever it is. It automatically puts them into my systems, and then they get follow-up email saying like, hey, you have, let's say it's a shoulder, right? So it tags them as a shoulder, they go into the shoulder sequence, right? In the shoulder sequence, they're going to say like, hey, I've dealt with, like, are you experiencing these things? Pain with sleeping on your side, pain with bench pressing, pain when reaching or trying to do anything overhead, blah, blah, blah. And then right below that is going to say like, hey, we had this patient, he had shoulder pain and he couldn't even play one hole with his son. And now he played a whole 3-day tournament, 18 holes a day, and he's just fine. And now he's kind of taking his son for the ring around the course, right?
Yep.
And all of a sudden they start making connections to that. And then they might get another email saying like, hey, you have this, if you want, we have this voucher or some kind of deal, right? And then after that, it might be like, hey, if you haven't claimed it yet, like at the end of this month, it runs out, create some urgency, get them in the bag. But you'll find that it sounds kind of like, oh, like salesy, but most of these people want help. They need help. They just need a push, right? And sometimes they need a couple nudges in the back besides just one. And then once they sign up and they work with you, right? If you're confident and you're good in your skills, by visit 2 or 3, they don't have any regrets about the decision they made because they're feeling so much better that it doesn't matter, right?
Right.
At that point, you've made so many points of contact, and your ability as a cash practice owner to spend more time with the patient, if you just provide value in that time, they don't take that, like, people don't take that for granted with their
Right.
health. We have 1 hour sessions, and most people have never had a 1 hour session with their doctor, right?
Right.
So like, I did a 90-minute eval this morning, and I tell everybody in my evals, I'm like, hey, in the next 90 minutes at the end of this thing, I'm going to ask you, what questions do you have? Are you still uncertain about what's going on? Are you certain about what the next steps are in the plan of care are? And all I want you to say is, nope, that's everything. And it
I love
happens every
that.
time,
You know,
right?
they come in
So
there for questions, and yeah,
yeah, like, if you
love that.
fulfill all those things, like, there's like, this morning, the guy was just like, okay, when do we start? He's like, want to do tomorrow? I'm like,
No,
tomorrow it is. Right?
I love
So
that.
yeah,
If you are
but
watching this and you're
I
struggling to
had
make sales, I hope you wrote that part down.
yeah, but I had like no, but before, right, I didn't have the start of the sales process.
Yep.
I didn't have the follow-up part of the sales process. And even in the call, I didn't have a sales process that was very good. And then even when I got them into the evaluation, my evaluation wasn't built out to be a sales process and actually get to the things that matter to them the most, right? And once you can learn how to do sales, it doesn't have to sound bad. You just have to build it into what you want to ultimately do for your patients, which what you'll find is a really good thing, right?
Right.
That's something I really struggled with was, I was like, man, how do I charge this much? And I was never confident in telling people, asking people for that price, because I wasn't good at communicating it through sales and
Right.
showing them the value, right?
And
I
what is
knew that. What's that?
Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, but what is that price?
Yeah, so it's for anything less than 10 visits, $215 a visit, and then
Nice.
anything over 10 is $195 a visit, and
Heck
then
yeah.
evals are $225. So
Very good. So
yep.
it sounds like, I mean, there's a ton of systems that you just mentioned. You talked about better follow-up systems with every single lead that walks in through your door. And so you have various automated email sequences, it sounds like, that are triggered based off of where people sign up, whether that's a QR code on your business card or at your workshop, through your ads, or any other sort of medium where you have different multiple email sequences that are tailored to whatever issue they might have opted in for, whether that's a squat workshop or a shoulder workshop. And then those emails start off with one calling out, the problem that they raised their hand and basically said that they had. And then you share instead of telling them and trying to sell them and why you're the best PT in town or the premier sports medicine specialist in town or whatever most people do, you just share a story of like, hey, this client had this same problem. Now they're doing this. This is how they did it. If you want to give that a shot, we got this new patient special. You can give it a shot for this. And then just backing that up with more social proof, more stories, which is brilliant. Nothing's complicated about any of that. It doesn't sound super hard. How long did it take you to get this stuff set up?
Honestly, a lot of it's already built out. Like, when you sign up for Booked, a lot of it's already in there. It's literally plug and play. But as you go, I don't know, I remember where I heard this, but it's like the 80% rule, right? Like, the second you join the program, like, you're 80% there just from what you guys supplied. And then an extra 20% is just refining it as you go throughout your however many months you're in the program or whatever. And I wouldn't even say, like, yeah, I've had pretty good results, but I wouldn't even say I was good at systems and sales until like November. And I started in August, especially when it came to systems. Like, We got ads running and I was working on sales, but I wouldn't say I really dove into the systems until November. And since November, it's just been like, it's just gotten so much better. Right. So, and that's just me. Like if you were a little more, into the systems than I was at the beginning, and you just really nail it down and realize the importance of it sooner than I did, there's no reason that you wouldn't be able to have better results sooner than I did. Right. So hindsight's 2020, but we're still doing it. I mean, it's basically I'm saying it's hard to fail, right? Like even if you don't get something perfect, like just being better at some part of having a business gets you moving in the right direction. Right. So
1% improvement every day. Right. And I mean, you did a really good pace. It takes a long time to go from not really having a system based kind of way of thinking to all of a sudden like getting that stuff down. So I think August and November is a pretty darn good time to have all this stuff. And it's obviously paid off pretty well for you, and it can only improve and make you more money for the rest of your life, which is exciting. So you got the follow-up systems, you got the sales systems. It sounds like you changed your, did you change your pricing a little bit once you joined the program, or is that always where you've been?
Oh yeah. Yep. 100%. Yep. And, it was probably one of the best things I did. Just because one thing I was doing that in the hustling time from April to August was a lot of free evals, and my prices were lower, and it was absolutely impossible to sell to anyone because I was trying to weed through so many tire kickers, right? Like you can't, like I was getting drugged down by people that were never going to buy a package in the first place. And they just kind of wanted a quick answer and take like, oh, it's free eval, might as well. Right. And that was holding back my growth big time because I was wasting time in places that was never going to turn out in the first place. The second you raise your prices, the second you don't do anything for free, like you can do workshops for free, right? But when it comes to like your actual skilled evaluations, interventions, or like actual treatment, like devaluing that will absolutely kill you, because you won't get anyone serious about coming through the door and actually staying. And plus, even if someone is on the edge and they barely make it through and they do pay, they're going to suck your energy, right? Because you want someone that actually wants to be there and actually wants to meet you halfway. One, because they're going to get better results. Two, if you're starting your own business, you only have so much energy. Don't waste it on people that don't want to get better. And three, if the person doesn't want to get better, they're wasting your time from helping someone that does want to get better, which as a PT and as a practice owner, if you want to help as many people as possible, then you got to be helping the people that want to be helped. Right. So, yeah.
No, I think that, thanks for touching on that. What were you going to say?
Nothing.
You've been on fire. So I'm just trying to shut up as much as I can.
No, just breathe it. My mouth is getting dry. So
good. Yeah, the pricing piece is just beaten like a dead horse, but people still don't do it. And there's very natural fears that come along with that, because not only do we have fears of rejection, not only do we have fears of, not getting any money because no one's going to buy that, and then my business is going to go up and I'm not going to make money, but then we also project our own price sensitivity onto the people around us, because usually when you're getting your practice off the ground, every dollar matters. And then it's almost like this, you're hurting yourself because you need to get it started and you need money, but by being cheap, you're just preventing yourself from being able to grow at all. So,
and I'm a testament to that. I mean, when I joined the book program, I literally told you, I was like, hey, if this doesn't work out, like, I will not have a practice. Like, I have 3 months left of money in my account for like rent and to be alive, like eat food, right? And I was like, hey, like this is it. Like this is you're either gonna get me there or not. And like here we are. So yeah, it worked. Like if that doesn't get you away from scaring to change your prices, like I changed mine at literally probably the worst financial situation, like because I did my travel contract and I'd absolutely just bipped it in the dirt for 4 months, and life got expensive, and I was like, my 8-month buffer turned into 4, and it was like, oh crap, right? So yeah, change your prices, it's worth it.
And that all, I mean, doing those things is terrifying. I think everyone on here, if you can relate with what Jake's saying here, and you've been in that position where you're working, giving away a ton of free, doing every single thing you can to actually make people's lives better, but you're not seeing the payoff coming into your own life and into your own business. Because I think everyone's been through that. So can you just talk for a minute about when you increased your rates? Obviously, you had your back against the wall. It sounds like you were in a position where, like, whatever you had to change, you're going to do it. But did you have any fears around increasing your rates? And did you have to, like, talk yourself into doing it at all? Or is it pretty easy for you at the stage you're at?
I think it was easy because, like you said, the back was against the wall. And I think the thing that really made sense to me was like, yeah, when you give away free stuff, like, how is anyone supposed to view that as valuable? Like anything, right? So I was like, oh, well, that makes sense. Like, that was dumb of me to do that. We should probably stop doing that. But I think what helps the most with changing your prices is learning how to sell, but learning how to sell what you want to offer, right? I was thinking about this morning. Like, I feel good about selling now because I finally know how to tell people what I'm selling and like how I want to help change their lives and what they're dealing with, right? I think what some people get caught up on is, yes, they want to increase their prices, but they're like, okay, you increase my prices, but then how the heck do I back that up, right? Like, I know I can help people, but how do I say that? And how do I sell to people genuinely, like, hey, this is what I have to offer. This is what I can do for you, right? Instead of just, because if you don't know how to make yourself, because everyone's unique, right? The reason you're starting your own cash packs is because you want to do something unique. Just find a way to take the sales process and communicate it in your unique way, right? And then you'll feel really good about selling it because you actually believe it, right?
100%.
Whereas if everyone's trying to just sell PT, all you feel like is like, oh, I'm just trying to sell PT, right? And you're like, well, everyone else is doing that, so why would they buy from me, right? But if you can communicate to the patient in a sales way that doesn't seem like sales, what you can do for them and how it'll help them, you'll believe it. And if you believe it, you'll portray it in a way that they'll believe it, and then they'll actually buy from you, right? But if you try to come at it from a salesy PT, like, because most of these people have had such bad experience with physical therapy, you can't sell physical therapy. You have to sell your unique attributes as a PT that you're trying to offer. And when you can find a way to communicate that to them using the sales process, you're going to sell. So
I think it even, like, obviously, like, everyone needs a sales process, a talking track, not necessarily a script, but a framework to take people through to help maintain that consistency. But I think even more important to that, with making to feel very comfortable with increasing your rates, I feel like some people feel like it's a little almost unethical, they feel, to increase their rates when they're still providing the same thing that they were offering at this rate. You know what I mean? And so I'm wondering, for you, obviously you had to figure out what that language was to help you describe truly what you do, to realize the real value of what it was, but not just how. Did you change anything other than just how you talked about it? Like, did you change the experience that you're providing your patients at all?
Yeah, I'd say the biggest change is the evaluation. When you're in an insurance-based clinic and when you're in PT school, you are robotic, like trained. Like, you have to get this information, you have to cover these things, because if you don't do it, insurance will not send the clinic a reimbursement, right? And a lot of those things that they force you to do through an insurance-based clinic in your eval, the patients do not care, right? They're like sitting there with an outcome measure before filling out paperwork, and they're like, I literally do none of these things, but insurance wants it, right? And then, like, every PT does range of motion, every PT does muscle testing, like all this stuff, right? What I do is I do those things, but not until after I have them do whatever activity that they want to do. Right. So this lady came to me, she dislocated her shoulder and she's like, I cannot snatch. Right. So the first thing we did, unloaded barbell in the eval, was I'm taking a video of you snatching. And then they instantly already can tell this is different. Right. It's different, right? Like, oh, the last PT or chiro I saw, the chiro took an x-ray, told me I had borderline scoliosis or something, right? Or the other PT just pushed on my shoulder and said I was a 4 out of 5 strength, whatever the hell that means, right? They don't know what that means, right? But they know what a snatch is, right? And they know you're taking a video of it. And then I go over the video right away with them, and they're like, well, that's already way more information in the direction I wanted than what anyone else had said, right? And then you can go into more of your like, oh, you see how like you didn't catch the snatch on the right side as well. Well, you see how your left hip like dove in, right? And then when you go to the table and do your measurements, they're like, okay, he's looking at my left hip because I just saw in the video that something was going on with my left hip, right? Even though we're talking about my shoulder, right? So whatever I find on the call that they're most like locked in on, like, I want to bench press without pain. Okay. You walk through the door, we're bench pressing right away, right? Oh, that's painful. Cool. We eval. I have pinching in my shoulder. Cool. But by the end of 90 minutes, we're going to do one thing, and I'm going to cue you through one thing. All right, do a bench press again. Do you have pinching in your shoulder? Oh no, it's not as bad. Cool. I only talked to you for 10 minutes doing exercise. I didn't even touch you, right? Imagine what we can do with 10 visits for an hour where we're actually getting through stuff. And they're like, oh, okay, right? So you have to find the meaningful thing initially in your sales process, so that when you go into the eval, you have a game plan for, hey, how do I make this for this patient and not every patient that walks through the door, right? None of my 80% of my eval is exactly the same for every shoulder, but the other 20% is whatever the heck they told me on the call that they're most concerned about, right? Yeah.
Dude, I've been smiling like an idiot through that entire thing, just because it's so cool to see how well you've paid attention to the things that are taught in the program and how well you executed it, like how to sculpt your patient experience and your evaluations to hit on the 3 emotional wins you got to create within your patients to make sure that they stick on long term. Emotional wins, action-based wins, and outcome-based wins. The emotional-based win was actually how you listen to them during the sales process. The action-based win is getting them to do the thing that came in to fix the first visit. And then the outcome-based win is obviously what they bought the package for, which comes at the end. But absolutely incredible, man. I know we went a little bit over, but I want to give the people what they want. But I want to make very clear, like, everyone thinks Facebook ads are a magic trick, and you can just launch them and they just work. And if they don't work, it's whoever's running the ads' fault. But in reality is, all Facebook ads is a way to put your systems and your offer in front of people. But you need all of the things that we just spent 40 minutes talking about for ads to be effective. And because you have these systems, it's why these ads worked so well. And so for you, once you turned on these ads, how quick was it that, with following these systems, that everything started to turn around for you?
Let's see, we got ads up within like 2 weeks. I think by the end of the first month, I don't even remember what I had. I know I had at least 3 evals, because I know that first month I think I did 6,000. So I must have landed 3, but I might have had more than that for evals. Because again, I wasn't killer at I still figuring it out, right? You need reps, right? Like my eval at that time was a little bit more similar, like way different than it was now, right? You have to add your sales process into things and add what you're learning in and change it as you go. But yeah, I think I remember turning them on, and the first night I had already had like 3 leads within like 4 hours. Like I think I turned them on at noon, and by the end of the night I had 3 or 4 leads. So yeah, which is it's good.
Now you've done at least one 12K month, but how long did it take you for you to hit your first 5-figure month with the ads?
think it was September. Oh, September, I think I hit 8. So it must have been October. Or
September,
no, I think,
October. Okay.
yeah, September, October. Yep.
That's like two
Yeah.
and a half months to hit your first 5K
Yeah.
month or 5K, 5-figure month, which is pretty epic. How much time do you spend on the ads, and what kind of surprised you about what managing your own ads is like?
Time wise, once you get them in place, they're just kind of there, and then you just tweak them. I'd say initially you're going to spend, if you spend a day or two just hammering away at them, you're going to be set up and ready to go. But by a week, if you join the program at the end of that first week, you should have your ads in place, should be ready to launch. I think as maintaining the ads, it's just a matter of making small tweaks to them, which only takes, 20 minutes. 20 minutes a day, if that. Like, it just depends how many tweaks you need to make, but they're really just hanging out in the background making you money. Like, don't have to do much for them. When you really go to revamp them and start refining, that's what I did in December. Was I revamped them, added in new images, added in some video sequences to my landing pages, all stuff that's nice but doesn't have to be right away. It helps, but again, I had great results without doing that. So yeah, you take it as far as you want. Like, if you want them to absolutely kill for you, then yeah, you're gonna, just like anything, you got to invest time in it. But honestly, they save you a lot of time because you have leads coming in and you can just relax for a second and be like, okay, where are the other holes in my business while these things are running? Because I know at the minimum, I would imagine you'll sell 4 or 5 packages a month just from the Facebook ads. So at that point, you can start getting your time back and dedicating it to better workshops, better systems, meeting other gym owners, doing all those organic things that you want to do. Because when you don't have that peace of mind of knowing that you have patients, at least you can land 4 or 5 patients a month, it makes it really hard to take time away from the hustle stuff organically, and that sort of thing. So yeah, it's not that much time. Once you get good at it, just like anything, it gets more efficient and quicker. So
right. And that doesn't take as long as people think. There's really not that many things you need to watch for and change when it comes to ads. But right now, what percentage of your patients are all coming from Facebook?
probably like 80-90%.
80. Right on. And
yeah,
now we got the systems to start building those organic methods, and most importantly, getting each new patient that comes in to refer another person, getting those systems built out. But we've gone over. So the last question that I want to ask you is, what is next for you? What's the goal for 2023 that you're shooting for? Obviously, you joined our next tiered mastermind program, which we're really excited about. So what are you shooting for in 2023?
Yeah, we're gonna try to hit 20 to 30,000 hopefully these next 2 or 3 months, each month. Build up a buffer, hopefully hire someone by end of April, beginning of March, and then hopefully by the end of the year with someone hired on. This is a perfect situation. Someone hired on, we can start looking at getting our own actual location instead of being inside a gym. I think that'll be huge for us. We're also launching here pretty soon some semi-private and some group training stuff for post offers after our patients finish rehab. That was something I never really focused on because there not enough patients coming through to even fill them. But now that we have Facebook ads and we have the right hit, like the actual person we're trying to target coming in, we're kind of getting on that 3-month tail end of patients that initially came through that are ready to kind of move into those things. And then the other big thing is building out more organic stuff. We're gonna do the website with you, hopefully get some better Google interactions. We got 2 new relationships with gyms that we're gonna keep pushing here. So really, hopefully by the end of the year, I've bought quite a bit of time back, and we can really start growing it, position ourselves to make the next big move. So.
Let's go, guys. If you're watching this and you think Jake is going to hit 20 to 30K a month this year, make his new hire, move into his new space, give him some love in the comments, because you know he's going to. Look at what he's been able to accomplish in an incredibly short amount of time. So super excited to have you on here. Thank you so much for sharing. This was an incredibly good interview, very informative for everyone who's struggling to hit that 5-figure a month mark in their cash practice. So with that being said, is there any last minute advice you have for any people who are watching this, or anyone who may be on the fence with, working with the clinical marketer team in any capacity?
I think I talked to someone that just joined the program a few weeks ago, and her biggest concern was just like paying for it and starting. And honestly, you only need to get one patient a month to pretty much pay for the program. And like, it's not like with Facebook ads, it's almost impossible to not get one patient a month. Like, it's almost impossible not to get like 3 or 4. So like, it just makes sense. And unlike other coaching programs, again, it's about Facebook ads primarily, but the systems, and like, you will get access to the booked program forever, and the sales and the information on not just Facebook ads. The reason I talk about it so much is because I think it was the biggest driver in my business, was learning sales the way that you should do it, in systems. Like, you have to have systems. If you're someone that started your cash practice because you want to have more freedom and time, and you don't know how to build out systems, and you don't know how to learn that stuff, you will never get your time back unless you have systems. It just won't happen, because you can't do everything at once. You have to have systems working for you in the background. I mean, I think if you just sold sales and systems and not even Facebook ads, it'd be worth it, because like, without the sales and systems, the Facebook ads won't work. And without Facebook, like, you can apply the sales and systems to anything, but it definitely helps with the ads to get reps in and practice your sales, practice building your systems, right? You're not just gonna wave a magic wand and be good at those things. You actually got to do it. So
Everyone thinks Facebook ads are hard. No, what's hard is building the systems to make Facebook ads work. Facebook ads are really easy. It's everyone has that stuff backwards. But man, thank you so much. This has been an absolute pleasure getting to chat with you, and really exciting for me, because I was the one that sold you into book, just to see how far you've come, and not only just how the success you've gotten, but just how much you've grown as an individual and as a practice owner. And can't wait to, and really excited to be working with you over the next 12 months. And excited to celebrate that 30K month, man.
For sure. Let's do it.
Anyone has any questions, feel free to throw them in the comments, but we are out. Thank you all for watching. We'll catch you next time. Cool.